Color it! Every material can use a touch of color. Learn how today on Beads, Baubles and Jewels.
Beads, Baubles and Jewels has been brought to you in part by Beading Daily, your jewelry making resource for how-to projects, books, magazines, DVDs, events, and online learning. BeadingDaily.com. Beadalon, a manufacturer of flexible bead stringing wires, memory wire, artistic wire, stringing materials, innovative findings, and tools to help you fashion your own jewelry. Beadalon.com. Create your style with Swarovski elements. eksuccessbrands.com/create your style with Swarovski elements. Halcraft, jewelry component manufacturer. Halcraft.com. Jewel School, a division of Jewelry Television. jtv.com/jewel school. TiaraCast, define your design with metal. TiaraCast.com.
Every supply can be altered in some way. We're never limited by how a material starts out. Today on Beads, Baubles and Jewels, we're using patinas, pigments, and other colorants to make a material uniquely yours. I'm Katie Hacker, your host, and let's begin with coloring metal with markers. This is a technique that I learned from Lily Pilly, and if you take a look at this necklace, you'll see the pendant I'm going to show you how to make. So this is a laser engraved piece of metal. So there are some exposed places on the metal, and that's what we'll be coloring. And this is a great way to bring color into the rest of your design. You can see I coordinated my pieces there together. The bird is made by Melanie of Earth and Wood Studio, and I have a tagua nut there in the center. Oh, sorry, a sai seed. Tagua nut is also a sustainable material. They're both from the Amazon rainforest. So to get started with color, what you'll need to do is put your piece of metal on a work surface like this. This is actually a polishing pad. You can use a paper towel or anything that's going to protect your surface. Then bring in your permanent marker and just add color to these white areas. That's the part of the metal that's exposed. So you can go crazy adding different colors all over the metal. What I do is add one color at a time, so that you get sort of an even, somewhat even exposure of color on the metal. And you can just continue coloring in the different areas to create your pattern. And of course, depending on what brightly colored beads and pendants you're going to combine it with, you'd want to make sure that those all go together. Then you can take your piece. I'll just bring in this other one that I've already colored. And this is just a different design, but it's the same idea. And use your polishing pad to just remove any of the extra color that's gotten onto the colored part of the metal. So since that colored part of the metal is already polished, this polishing pad just removes any extra marker that you might have gotten on there. And it also kind of seals it and gives it a little bit of polish. Now you could put this in a bezel and put a piece of glass over the top. That would give you a really pretty effect. Or you can cover this with resin inside a bezel or by itself. Since resin is self-leveling, you could put this on a little raised surface and cover it with resin too. Or you can just leave it plain. So this is a really easy way to customize your designs. If you take a look at the choker that I have here, you'll see that I've just layered two pendants together. And the top one, I simply colored the white areas red to match my slice of tagua nut there and my red beads. Now coming up next, designer Kate Richbourg shows how to create color and patina on metal using a torch. Then it's time for polymer clay with Christi Friesen. She's making a floral pendant with polymer clay and metallic pigments. Finally, Julianna Hudgins adds alcohol inks to shrink plastic for a colorful goddess pin. Let's meet Kate. I I'm here with designer and author Kate Richbourg, and Kate is known for her metal work, and these are some beautiful beads you're making, Kate.
Thank you. This was actually my very first metal project when I first started to do metal.
Look at you go.
Well, and it's so easy, anyone can do it, so I'm so excited to share it with you.
Oh, great. And we're talking about color today, and you're actually using the torch to create patina.
That's right. You know, you can patina with traditional techniques as well, but I love to use the torch for patina ink.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
All right. So to start the beads, what I use is some thin gauge sheet metal. This is 36 gauge copper sheet, but again, you could use sterling silver as well. But this 36 gauge is nice and thin, so you can really move the metal and wind, roll up those beads.
Okay.
So after I cut my shape using some metal shears, and don't worry about the shape that you're making, whatever shape you like. I kind of have this vaguely triangular shape here. I go ahead and I use my flat nose pliers, and I come in and I just bend up the edges like so. And you know what? They don't have to look pretty. They just have to be bent.
You're just folding them in to prevent snags.
Right, to
keep it clean.
Right, so it's nice and clean and not too sharp.
Okay.
And then I just come in and push it down with my fingers, and then give it a final little burnish with the tip of the tool, just
Great.
like that. Then, once it's all finished into a shape, I go ahead and I get my dowel. This happens to be a knitting needle, but you could use a dowel or anything you want. Just remember that the size of the dowel you use is going to be the interior of the bead. That's the interior size of the hole.
Okay, so you might think about if you're going to put this on a chain or on stringy material.
Right, exactly, how big you want that hole to be. And you can see already I've just wound that up. Now see how this side, it's a little bit open or a little bit big here? I can use my plier to come in and kind of
just twist it down.
Yeah, twist it down, or that's what freeform is all about. You decide what it is that you like there. So I like it. The more crumpled, the better, I think.
Sure, that looks great.
So now let's add the color.
Okay.
We're going to do that by using a torch. So we're going to put on our safety glasses.
Okay.
And I just use a butane micro torch. We want to use this in a well-ventilated area, safety glasses, and of course a fire extinguisher near. But as I turn on the torch and I just come right down and I start heating the metal. Now the heat of the torch is going to make the metal start to patina. And copper starts to
look
patina.
at that.
Look at that. On the cool down of the metal, you can start to see the color. And if I wanted it really dark, I'd come in and just keep going with the flame. Just heat it and heat it. And
Now, do you have to worry about doing this too much?
Well, you don't want to heat the metal so much that you melt it, but as long as you're moving the torch around like this and not holding it in one place, you're going to be fine.
And you're working on the kiln brick to protect your work surface.
Exactly. The kiln brick is my solder surface of choice. Now, this is really hot, so I'm going to pick it up very gently with my soldering tweezer, and you can see the back is also patinaed because, the metal is conductive. Right, exactly. I'm going to come in and quench it. Now you can see, I know, I love that noise.
It's great.
Right? It's great. You can see that the patina, it's colored a little bit, and it's just kind of what you get.
Right, and it's not perfectly even, and that's okay.
Oh, exactly, and I think that makes it even look better for the bead.
Definitely.
Now, once I dry this off on my trusty work apron, I can come in and give it just a quick buff if I feel like, with a little metal pad. This is a little 3M metal pad, or I can use some fine gauge sandpaper or a pro polish pad, or I can just leave it as is.
So you're just sanding it a little bit to bring out some highlights?
Right, exactly.
And you don't need to polish this at all or anything?
No. So now we're going to add some more color with the beads.
Yay!
So I've just cut some pre-oxidized wire here, and this is maybe a little longer than 18 inches, maybe about 22 inches or so, but it just depends on how much wire you like to use. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to start wrapping. I hardly think about what I'm doing. I just think about other things and wrap away. Exactly. And you can just add your little beads for color. And you can add one single bead and wrap around. You could add a couple of beads. Whatever strikes your fancy. It's a great way to kind of use up the remainder of your beads in your bead box.
Sure, this is a great stash project, you know, using all the beads up, leftover bead soup and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, do you make sure that the beads are on one surface, or it just depends on what you're going to use it for?
No, it just depends on what you're going to use it for. I can go ahead and wrap some beads around the back like this as well. And, you know, I can make it heavier on one side if it's going to be a pendant, or I can just do it all the way around. But to finish it off, it's really easy. Just these little ends. I'm going to tuck this, find a space in your wire that's maybe lifted up a little bit, and I can just wrap this end around once.
And you're just sort of stitching it down there.
Exactly, and pulling it.
And is this
nice
24
and tight.
gauge?
It is 24 gauge,
Okay.
but I can use 24 gauge, 26 gauge, even 28 gauge works nicely.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a final tug here, and then I'm just going to clip that little end away using my wire cutter.
All right.
And I'm going to do the same thing here.
It looks great. It's so two different ways to add the color.
Exactly.
Patina and beads.
And the beads. One last little trick I want to share with you. This is one that I've already finished. You can see, to tighten up the wires, I can just come in and give them a little half twist, and that kind of brings all of the wires in where you want it to be.
Up.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
These look great. Let's take a look at the red necklace here, because here you can see the patina with no beads.
Yeah.
And then on the other stone necklace in the front here, you can see the patina on sterling silver.
That's right. And, you know, I use the torch to patina sterling silver as well.
Oh, they're just gorgeous. Let's take a quick look at your necklace that you created.
This is a bead I made so long ago, and I really wear it quite a bit.
Favorite.
That's right.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Katie. Thank you.
And stay tuned for another great project. I'm here with polymer clay artist Christi Friesen. Welcome, Christi.
Hi, welcome too.
Thanks, so happy to have you. And this is a beautiful pendant that you made.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome, and the metallic color is gorgeous.
Aren't they fun?
Yes.
Is
What is the color?
Oh,
That's
it's
not the
actually,
clay.
no, it's not. And there really are times when you want that silver metal or whatever, and you don't want to have a kiln and all that other stuff. You just want to get right down to it. So it's a metal coating that mimics that look.
Beautiful, and you could just string this onto a ribbon or chain or bead it up.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, so how do we get started?
Started with polymer. Polymer is one of your go-to things. It just molds beautifully, and then all your surface treatments like the metal and other things really kind of perk up the look that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So we're starting with a silver colored clay. Since I'm going to put the silver coating on afterwards, we'll go ahead and start with a silver color. So if I mess up, you know, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You don't see the underneath side.
Punches it up.
Exactly. I'm going to just take a little ball of clay, which just happens to be the exact perfect size. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
And I'm going to roll it out into a bit of a snake. And obviously simple, easy to do. And you're just folding that in half so that you've got like a loop. And that will give you a place to string off of. And I've got one already made here, and it's got this nice little texture on it, which I made with toilet paper.
Clever.
Isn't it nice?
Aluminum foil.
Things around the house.
Yeah.
And you just poke, 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 and you end up with all this lovely little texture. And then this makes your perfect beginning that we can start adding all the other elements, which in this case are a flower and some leaves. So I'm going to start off by making a teardrop. And that's just by putting your hands together in a wedge and rolling that through there, and you get a nice little teardrop shape. I tend to do everything by hand instead of like rolling out a sheet and cutting it with cutters, because then everything is different, it's unique, and your fingerprints give it a very organic feel to it. So I'm pressing this all out so you can see it's about as thick as maybe like a 50-cent piece and that kind of thing. So then we need our tools to add some details to this. All you're going to use is a regular needle tool, and this is one of my favorites called the Gotta Have It tool.
I love that.
Because you gotta have it.
You gotta have
so I'm going
it.
to start off with just a needle tool, and you see I'm holding it very parallel so I can embed a line in there. You don't want to scratch it in there, you want to just embed it in.
Okay.
This will become a fold line later. So remember that, it's on the quiz.
All right.
I'm going to pick it up now, take this tool, and I'm just pressing and rolling in. So you see how you're just making like a wedge?
You make that look really easy.
After the 87,000th leaf,
Yes,
it's a piece of cake.
it better be, huh?
First three, not so much, but after that, now you don't want to go like this because it'll look like a truck ran over it. You want to have those little lines following so they're making V's heading up towards the thick end of the leaf. Which means you got a little bit of gymnastics with your fingers, but hey, it's fun, you can do it. Now once you've got this, then you take the other end, and I'm just gonna wedge it in here and kind of roll a little indentation. Doesn't that make it look like
Yes.
super fun? And I'm rocking it back and forth. This is a stainless steel tool, which works beautiful with clay. It just doesn't stick to it or anything, it's great. I usually go back and touch it with my fingers because I like touching things. And it also softens out and makes it a little less mechanical. A little bit of that needle tool right back in the center. So then we open that hole up again, and then you just fold. And when you fold, see how that brings it together like a little valley, and makes it look ever so much more fun.
Very realistic too.
I know, not bad,
is,
right?
yes.
And then if you just grab this end here, you can pull out a little bit of a stem, which makes it look
good.
like you know what you're doing.
Right.
Now I'm going to take this little circle that I've got made, or whatever that is, and my leaves are going to just be arranged on there. Now you can make 87,000 leaves, 2 leaves, whatever you like. 3 usually works well. And I'm just going to press a leaf on, and press another leaf on. And the nice thing about putting these little leaves on is you can make a whole bunch of these, but if you have extras, then you could use them for like earrings or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
or
so
you know,
cute.
additional leaves in your necklace piece. And right here, you see I've just pressed them in. Let's actually blend them for a moment first. And then you can use your handy foil to bring that pattern right up along with everything else.
Looking good.
Now this by itself could be fine, but let's throw the little flower in there, why
Sure.
not? I've made little balls of clay, 5 of them, all about the same size, the size of a pea on steroids. And then for each one of these, I'm gonna just roll it into a teardrop. That's my go-to move. If you're not sure what to make a teardrop, it's probably the right thing. Flatten that out. This time about as thick as a dime. Maybe a nickel.
Okay.
And then what you'll do, once you've got all these down, I'm going to put them up in a fan shape. So I'll just press one on top of the other on top of the other. Now, in order for this fan to be completed into a circle, this one's got to be on top of that one. But the only way to do that is if you curve it up like it's an ice cream cone. So see how I'm just kind of curving it up, and then I can overlap this on this, and you get an instant flower.
There you go.
Yep, isn't that fun? It's
Yes,
magic.
it is.
And then you start pressing this, because what that'll do is it'll pinch this together and make that little flower come together. And I also pinch the edges. Now that's important because later on we're going to add a little bit of color to the edge to give it a faux enamel look, and it's got to be thin in there for it to work well. And while you're at it, you might as well tweak it a bit because that's more fun. And with any luck, you'll have a lovely flowing flower. I'm going to add a little bit of a stem because we're going to tuck that in, but we don't want that red to be shown. I said flower, I meant a little bit of a stem onto the flower. So I'm going to kind of flatten out a bit of clay, get rid of this extra business because we don't need all that. So just pinch it off, toss it wherever.
So you just wrap it up.
And just wrap it up. Just wrap it up like a little Band-Aid and grab. See how I'm kind of holding it right in here gently? And just press and twist and press and twist and push it right up against the base of the flower, and you end up with a nice little stem.
Yeah.
Once you've got that stem, and look, this one's already done, how convenient. You can just pick up a leaf and tuck your flower in wherever it amuses you. If the stem's too long, you do the yank thing again and press it into position. And then you can dangle your flowers and arrange them however looks the most beautiful for you. One other little trick that I like using toilet paper in my work a lot. I find it to be a very fun little craft piece, right? So when I tuck this under here in the oven, you're going to be able to bake it so that that toilet paper, come on baby, holds it up and it lifts it up, because when you wear it, you want that flower to be up in your face, not looking down and droopy.
Looks great.
So that works. Then we have one more bit to this to make it fun, and that's putting some stamens in the middle. I'm using just a little copper ball-tipped head pin. You could just stab it right in, but when you stab it right in, it's going to come right back out again because clay and metal don't stick together. You think they do, but they don't. So I'm going to use a little bit of glue. This is a wonderful little heat glue so that it's like a super glue, but it still stays adhesion after being hot.
So it'll glue it when it's in the oven.
Exactly.
And of course, you're going to bake this to manufacturer's instructions.
Exactly. And so we just put a little teeny drop on there. Don't touch it now because it's going to glue itself to you. And you just stick it right in the middle. And then, of course, you'll put 5 of those in there for the perfect flower stamen look.
Okay.
Now, once you've got that and you've baked it to manufacturer's instructions, then we're going to move right along to the painting section. And this is what we have as a finished piece. Let me move a few of these out of our way. This is all finished. Now we're going to paint this. The reason is, and I can show you the thing right here, you can see the contrast. This is with the metal coating on it. This is just as it came, and you can see how much more impactful that is.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a silver metal coating, and we paint it right on there. You just use a regular paintbrush, and you're just going to dip it in. I've got a little here, and we're just going to go straight on and do that.
Okay, and so you just paint it up. Now, is there a finishing touch that we can tell them
there
in
is one other thing to use.
Seconds?
Yes, it's just a darkening powder, darkening fluid. After you've painted and dried it, you put that fluid on, and you get that beautiful dark coating right over the top.
Oh, let's take a look.
Yes.
So do you do that with the brush?
I do. I definitely do the brush, and you'll see the instant. Yeah, it's quite fun.
That is gorgeous. Thank you so much, Christi.
You're welcome.
We will be right back. I'm here with Julianna Hudgins, and today we're talking about color. Julianna, you have a beautiful pendant to show us.
I think layering is definitely my thing. I love dimension, and I love using many different materials to create jewelry pieces. What I did here was I used a shape that normally I would use for my paper crafting.
Right, which this is your goddess cutout shape. die cut. And you could use any shape.
Yes.
But this is, of course, your
This is what I chose. This is what I chose because I loved the, surface that I could design and work on.
Now, what are you cutting it out of?
Okay, well, what I'm cutting it out on is shrink plastic. And so that's really fun to do. And I'm using a machine that's going to actually cut that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the plate here. And then I'm going to take my shape. And I'm taking the shrink plastic.
Okay, and last time you showed us cutting out of pleather. You can also use metal, so you can use lots of different materials with your die cutting machine.
Yes, there really are many different things that you could, materials that you could cut. You just have to play around, and that's the fun part.
Yeah, so why did you use shrink plastic for this piece?
Well, for this, what I wanted to do was I wanted to shrink the shape down so that I could use it as a pen to wear.
Because it makes it thicker.
Yes,
If you look at these,
and it really does make it much
cutout.
thicker. So here it is actually cut. And what you want to do next is if you're going to use it as a pendant or you're going to add any type of jump rings like I did here, you want to go ahead and use your 1/8 hole punch.
Okay.
Because remember, the hole's going to shrink too. So you have to make sure that it's a pretty big punch.
Right, so you still have your hole. And
Yes.
the reason that you go from this large shape to the small, you can see how nice and thick it gets. So.
Exactly. It really does, it gets, it shrinks down, it gets thick, it gets heavy.
And you wouldn't be able to cut a thickness
No.
like that.
Right. So that's why I wanted to use it. And again, it just adds that dimension.
Right.
So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually want to add color to it. So I'm using some inks. And what you need to make sure is that you apply the darkest color first. So in this case, I'm actually going to be applying the green. And I'm just randomly making little dots.
And you just put it on a piece of felt so that you can blend them together?
Yeah, it's just a little, spongy type of applicator. So that was tangerine orange. And
Okay.
this is going to be yellow. So again, the darkest color was put down first and then the next shade. And then what I'm going to do is pick that up and then I just start to pounce. Oh, I get so excited. I really do because I love how the colors start to, dance around. Oh, look at that. See how they're spreading?
Yes.
Oh, so much fun. So you could see that this is predominantly yellow, but if
Right.
I wanted it to be a different color, I would have just made sure that
Just apply more.
Exactly. So
More
super
and more.
love, super love.
Let's look at the colors in front because
Yes.
that's a perfect example of layering some different shades
Oh,
together.
these are just gorgeous. I actually incorporated some golds and some silver and really deep forest green and purple.
And I love the little keys. You
Yeah.
can do lots of die cut shapes.
Oh, there's so many fun things you can do. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually using this tool that creates a coil
Yes.
and then creates a wire bead. So I'm just inserting the rod. And I love to use 2 different colors at one time because again, we're going to get that really cool dimension.
And does it matter what gauge you use?
I tend to work, this is a 22. I go anywhere from 26 all the way up to 18. And the heavier the wire, the thicker and more substantial the bead. And what we're doing is we're just pushing forward. And when you're using 2 different colors, you do have to pay a little attention
Yeah, so they
because you don't want them
cross.
to cross over.
And I always put a little bit of tension with my thumb and kind of hold them in
Yep.
place.
It's fun. It's fun to watch, this just makes it so easy because it does have the really nice, crank right here where it's holding it all down.
This over for you.
There you go.
Yeah, and you get a consistent coil too.
You really get a nice, nice coil.
So about how long do you do that?
Well, you know what? The longer the coil, the more, the bigger the bead. In this particular situation, because I'm going to be wrapping this around the goddess shape, I want to make sure that I do at least 3 inches. So I'm just going to readjust myself, which is good to know that you can do that. And we're just up here coiling. And what I'm going to do is go ahead. I think that's good.
Looks good?
We'll roll all the way to the other side of the table.
Sure, then you can just give us the idea of
Yeah. So we're going to snip that off. And then the next step is to take your color of wire and we're just going to feed that through. And you're just starting that process all over again.
And this is the aha right here.
This is like the super fun, oh my goodness. So
you have
this
your
coil,
core wire going through.
Yeah.
And then you have the coil in your hand.
Right, so again, that's just going to be a little shorter, and then we're just going to wrap that around, okay? And then here's the magic. So we're just going to feed this up, and look at how cool.
You have a wire
Isn't that
bead.
fun?
Yes.
Super, super fun. And then we're just going to end it with the same size coil. And then what I do is I take that out, unwrap it from the handle, and then we're just going to slide it off.
Sure.
Got to get all that off of there. And I've actually got one finished down here that's that we can play with and use. This is so cute. I love these beads. And then you're just, nipping off the excess wire. Make sure that you hold those pieces or cover them so they don't fly into somebody's head.
Sure.
And what
Thank
we're
you
going
very
to
much.
do, I still want to be your crafting buddy.
All right.
So we're just going to wrap that around, and you can see that I already added some jump rings that I pre-made. And then what you can do is make a little swirl, add a little flat crystal, and here's our finished piece.
So cute. And so you glued this on with some industrial strength adhesive.
Yes,
And then
definitely.
you're ready to hang this on your necklace.
Yeah, you can actually, just add your pin back,
Yeah.
or if you want to make it into a ring,
Okay.
it just goes on and on.
These are beautiful. Let's take a quick look at your finished pieces here.
Oh yeah, aren't these fun?
Yes, they are. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very colorful.
Very fun.
If you're looking for more color ideas, visit us on the website for projects and videos. And next week, please join us as we add patterns to our design techniques and help you think like a designer.
Instructions for today's projects, plus other ideas, techniques, and information are available on the web at beadsbaublesandjewels.com. Today's show is number 1708. If you enjoyed today's show and want to see more projects and great guests, you can order a DVD set of the entire Beads, Baubles and Jewels Series 1700. All 13 episodes plus bonus content featuring soldering techniques with Kate Richbourg and spiral herringbone with Jean Campbell, only available in this DVD set. Order at beadsbaublesandjewels.com for $29.99 plus shipping and handling. Don't miss a single episode and get these bonus projects. Beads, Baubles and Jewels has been brought to you in part by Beading Daily, your jewelry making resource for how-to projects, books, magazines, DVDs, events, and online learning. BeadingDaily.com. Beadalon, a manufacturer of flexible bead stringing wires, memory wire, artistic wire, stringing materials, innovative findings, and tools to help you fashion your own jewelry. Beadalon.com. Create your style with Swarovski elements. eksuccessbrands.com/create your style with Swarovski elements. Halcraft, jewelry component manufacturer. Halcraft.com. Jewel School, a division of Jewelry Television. jtv.com/jewel school. TiaraCast, define your design with metal. TiaraCast.com.